So here we will talk about completing the square method. In the first two video, we have just discussed completing squares, but now let us look at completing the square method. How can we use the completing the square method to solve quadratic equation that is not a perfect square quadratic equation? Okay, so that is our basis here, and we are going to find it very interesting, of course. So we are going to be looking at these first two examples. Solve these equations by completing the square method. Leave your answers in solved form. Solve these equations by completing the square method. Leave your answers in solved form. Okay, so we are taking number one. Equation number one is x squared plus 6x plus 1 equal to 0. Now that you know how to complete squares, so you follow those 4 steps we have been using to complete squares. Step 1, divide through by the coefficient of x if there is, but coefficient of x is 1, so we'll skip. Step 2, you take half of the coefficient of x, half of 6 plus 6, which is plus 6 times 1 over 2, which is plus 3. And the second step is to square it. The third step is to square the half. Square plus 3, which will give you plus 3 square. And the fourth step is to add and subtract the square. Step 4, add and subtract the square. And subtract plus 3 square and factorize. So remember, we are completing the square of this particular aspect, so the equation will become x squared plus 6x plus 1 equals to 0, and that will give us x squared plus 6x plus the square of the half minus the square of the half plus 1 equal to 0, if I'm not mistaken. So that is it, guys. Then we have a perfect square now. This one is a perfect square, so we factorize it. We can combine the bracket x plus 3 square, because if we expand x plus 3, guys, we will have x squared plus 6x plus 3 square. So minus 3 square is 9 plus 1 equals to 0. So we can now simplify and solve the equation. So solving, we have x plus 3 square minus 8 equals to 0. So x plus 3 square equals to 8. So take the square root of both sides. Of both sides. So that will give us square root of x squared equal to plus or minus. Remember, when you are using the square root method, you always take plus or minus. So of course, square and square root will cancel each other. So you have x plus 3 equals to plus or minus. Square root of 8 can be broken down into 2 root 2. Okay, 4 times 2. Root 4 is 2. And root 2 is that. So guys, we can simplify further. Take plus 3 to the other side, or subtract 3 from both sides, will give us minus 3 plus or minus 2 root 2. Okay, so that will give us x equals to minus 3, take the plus first, 2 root 2, or x equals to minus 3 minus 2 root 2. You are asked to leave your answers in solved form, so you leave your answers this way, and that is complete. So when you know how to complete a square, you can easily solve quadratic equation by completing the square method. It's a very simple method if you understand, know what you are doing really. Example 2. 3 plus 8x minus x squared equals to 0. Okay, now before you complete squares, always before you use completing a square method, make sure your quadratic equation is written in standard form. If it is not written in standard form, you rearrange. So in that case, we need to rearrange this equation to be x squared plus 8x plus 3 equals to 0. And we start our step because the coefficient is not just 1, it is -1. So we divide 2 by -1. So that will give us x squared minus 8x minus 3 equals to 0. So, and we can now start and complete the square of x squared minus 8x. So that will take us to step 2. So half of minus 8 equals to minus 8 times half, which is -4. Okay. Then step 3 is to square the half. Step 3 minus 4 square, square the half. And step 4, of course you know what to do, add and subtract the square. And then factorize. So in the beginning, the equation we have rearranged there is x squared minus 8x minus 3 equals to 0. So we are completing the square of this. So that will give us x squared minus 8x plus the square minus the square. Always add before you subtract, please. Then minus 3 equals to 0. And of course, this is a perfect square. So we can factorize it to form x minus 4 square minus -4 square will give us -16. Minus 4 square will give us 16 minus 3 equals to 0. So and that can give us x minus 4 square minus 19 equals to 0. And guys, we can solve this equation now with square root method. So solving that equation, we have x minus 4 equals to 19. So now take the square root of both sides. So that will give us square root of x minus 4 squared equals to plus or minus square root of 19. And square will cancel square root here. So we have x minus 4 equals to plus or minus root 19. So if we take 4 to the other side, we have 4 plus or minus root 19. So, and guys, we have our two answers. X equals to 4 plus root 19 or 4 minus root 19. You are asked to leave your answers in third form. Alright guys, so this is how to solve quadratic equation by completing the square. First of all, complete the squares, and then you solve the equation using the square root method. And remember to take plus or minus of the right hand side, and then you will be done. Alright, see you in the next couple of the next video, which is going to be our last video. Bye.